welcome back to Mike's Monsters. Today I am super excited to check out the new Godzilla 2024 evolved version from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, which is a big mouthful. Let's start by looking at the box. The artwork is vibrant and colorful, with bold blue and pink accents highlighting the product shots scattered throughout the packaging. On the back we've got 4 product shots that show off the figure's posability. But we're not here to admire the box. Let's get Godzilla out of the package. Before we do though, here's a quick look at the instructions on the inside flap. They have a nice breakdown of the alternate hand sculpts you can swap onto this figure. My initial thoughts on this figure? It looks pretty great. It's one of the first SH Monster Arts Godzilla figures to actually use CGI data from the film, which gives us a much more accurate MonsterVerse Godzilla. The head sculpt in particular is a massive improvement over the more stylized designs that we've seen before, something that fans have been wanting for a very long time. This Godzilla design has really grown on me since Godzilla Kong released. I liked it from the start, but over time, I've really come to appreciate it even more. So having a highly accurate and articulated figure to represent this version is really exciting. The light pink spines and the updated body shape are standout features. They look fantastic and are a great nod to the Godzilla 1999/2000 design from the Millennium era. Now let's jump in to see how this figure moves and take a closer look at the sculpt and design details. First off, the paint job on Godzilla Evolved I personally think is quite excellent. The skin has a charcoal gray tone with light brownish yellow dry brushing that highlights the sculpted details beautifully. The spines with light pink color and translucent effect are the star of the show for me. We'll take a closer look at those later. And actually the entire figure is made out of a transparent plastic, which adds to an extra layer of coolness. Starting with the articulation, let's look at the head and neck. There's some good range of motion overall, but it is slightly limited. He can look down extremely well, but looking up, not so much. The neck sculpt and the spines limit the upward movement, which is probably one of my only complaints about this figure. It means you can't quite achieve those iconic poses from the film, like when he roars in an upward position, or blasts his atomic breath up into the sky to counter Shimos Ice Age-inducing powers under Scar King's command. He can turn his head left and right with ease, allowing him to almost look behind himself from certain angles. The mouth opens pretty wide too, though you might have to work it a little bit depending on the position of the neck. You may notice some range limitations, but it will open more once you position the neck into the right spot. The arms use a ball joint swivel system at the shoulders, allowing for full rotation if needed, and there are swivels throughout the arm, including cuts at the bicep, elbows, and forearms, giving you plenty of options for posing, though they don't have the most dynamic range of posing, but I've been able to get mine into some pretty good positions still. Moving to the upper body, he has a bit of a crunch in the chest area, letting him bend forward slightly. However, going too far can create a gap in the spines, which breaks that seamless look, but it's not too big of a deal, it's just worth noting. This crunch also enhances his ability to look downward. There's a lighter crunch at the abs and waist, adding a bit more range to the downward poses, though it's still somewhat limited. The waist also allows for a slight side-to-side tilt, giving you some more flexibility in his posing. And now to the legs. Due to the new sculpting in the crotch area, I couldn't really get him to do a full 360 spin with his legs, but they can kick out really far and go back quite a bit too. The knees have a fantastic bend, with several pieces in the leg sculpt ensuring a seamless look without getting any gaps to appear during the posing. That's a detail I really appreciate. The calves also include a swivel for rotation, and the ankle and feet can also rotate 360 degrees as well. And speaking of that crotch area update, you'll notice some new pieces designed to minimize the gaps here as well. I love how they're making these figures look more seamless. That said, as someone who's owned SH Monster Arts for many years, you can pose a lot of their older figures to avoid gaps as well. You just need patience, and that's the key with SH Monster Arts figures, is patience. And now let's check out the tail articulation. The tails on recent SH Monster Arts figures have been getting better and better, more posable and flexible than ever. This one has a huge range of motion, though I did push it a bit too far at one point, causing the tail to pop apart. Honestly, it doesn't bother me, it was my own fault for pushing it that hard, and all you have to do is pop it back into place. Once I've reassembled the tail here, It moves beautifully and in multiple directions. I was able to pose it in a ton of unique and fun ways without needing to heat it up, and the joints on this whole figure overall feel perfectly tight. None too loose or none too stiff. And here's a quick look at the alternate grabbing hands that come with the figure. These will probably be the ones that stay on mine since I love the dynamic posing they allow, and swapping them out is super easy. You just pop off the original relaxed style hands and pop on the new ones onto the ball joint. And just for fun, let's test out the strength of this tail. Even after it popping apart earlier, it still holds together like a champ. I can dangle Godzilla from his tail with no issues. This visual might stress out a few collectors, but trust me, this figure is built strong all the way up to the very tip of his tail. Now onto those translucent spines. They catch light beautifully, lighting up when backlit just right. The pink, almost a salmon-like color stands out, and you'll notice hints of white in there as well. The translucency extends across every pink spine and spike all the way down to the tail's new Thagomizer design. There was a bit of confusion with the transparent plastic at the time of this figure's reveal. My buddy Michael, who runs the Articulation Series site and social media accounts, who is probably the best coverage of Monster Arts figures out there, and also was the one who hooked me up with this figure, was told it didn't have translucent plastic, and I also was told myself from some friends who work at Tamashii Nations that it didn't have translucent plastic as well. But we come to find out the actual release of the figure indeed did have translucent plastic. There must have just been something lost in translation about this, but I can't complain or think this is a bad thing at all because the translucency looks fantastic and adds to the overall figure. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at Godzilla Evolved's sculpt and articulation in detail. I've noticed many collectors commenting about the overpainting on the gum areas on this figure, and personally it doesn't bother me too much on mine. I don't view my figures from this up close, and usually I'm at about an arm's length or admiring them from my shelves in a special lighting that I use. In those conditions, the paint on the mouth and the gums isn't something that stands out to me at all. The eyes look fantastic as well. Tamashii Nations use a dot matrix painting process here, which is usually very detailed and accurate. Getting this level of detail on something such small scale, especially for a mass-produced figure, is quite astounding to me. It's not custom painted, and yet the precision is still there. The tongue even has a little bit of articulation too. It's so tiny that I had to get a knife out to nudge it free, but it does move. Paired with the right neck posing that doesn't hinder the jaw movement, you can see the mouth opens quite wide. Here's a closer look at the paint detailing on the figure, showcasing the dry brushing and the pink spines. The sculpt, in my opinion, is really impressive. Now let's talk about posing. This figure can get into a variety of fun and creative poses, which always is a highlight for SH Monster Arts figures. My only real complaint, like I mentioned earlier, is that he can't look up very high. But honestly, that's not a deal breaker for me because I absolutely love this figure. Here are a few poses that I've managed to put him in while making this video. Next up, let's do some size comparisons with other figures in my collection. First, let's compare this new SH Monster Arts Godzilla Evolved to the older GVK Godzilla from 2021. Side by side, you can see they're similar in build, but Evolved has updated articulation in areas and vastly improves that head sculpt. I was never really bothered by the old head sculpt. I quite enjoy some stylized designs in my figures here and there, but Evolved just looks so much more detailed and accurate to the film. And both figures are about the same height. Now let's throw in the Godzilla 2021 from Hiya Toys, specifically the Atomic Breath versions from GVK. This bad boy towers over both the SHMA figures since Hiya works at a slightly larger scale. The Hiya figure is much more accurate in terms of sculpt compared to the 2021 Godzilla as well, but the SHMA figures kind of blow Hiya out of the water in terms of articulation. I appreciate both versions for different reasons. You don't have to pick one over the other, and you don't have to pit these brands against each other. You can like both. You can have two cakes. Next up, we've got the GVK Kong from SH Monster Arts, which I've got a customized head on, along with the 2019 King of the Monsters Mothra from the Rodan double pack. These scale really well together in my opinion, and I'm especially looking forward to adding the new Beast Glove Kong from the Hiya Toys line and the new Suko and Mothra double pack from the SH Monster Arts line to my collection in the future. Now let's dive into some Pink Godzilla comparisons. First, we've got the Banpresto Super Deformed Godzilla Evolved, and then the Funko Pop Sleeping Godzilla Evolved, and also the Blind Box Crystal Godzilla Evolved from Playmates Toys. And for something else pink, here's a CCP Godzilla 1999. From Super 7, I've included the Super Kaiju Godzilla 1989, which is also now available at Target, and the Reaction 1974 Godzilla. And just to mix it up, here's the Super 7 Ultimates Dragon Zord from Power Rangers, which absolutely towers over all of them. Now let's get a little creative and do some toy photography with this Godzilla Evolved figure. I really wanted to make those spines pop, and trust me, with just about any lighting, they do. For one of the shots, I took him out to my apartment patio, used some sunlight, a spray bottle for some water effect, and pink accent lighting from a Ulanzi RGB LED light. And I'm really happy with the final results of this photo. For the next shot, I wanted to place him in a city setting similar to the final battle in GXK, complete with a foggy effect as well. I used the Ulanzi Film Fog Ace for the mist, and the same RGB LED light from them as before, along with some lume cubes to fill in the shadows. I added one with an orange filter for a fiery effect, and I also used a large LED video light overhead to give it a sunlight look, all staged up in front of my TV displaying some clouds for a background. Next, I wanted to go for a more stylized and creative look with the lighting. I used the same RGB LED light from Ulanzi as before to give that pink glow, and a lume cube with the diffusion filter on it set to white, along with the misty fog from the Film Fog Ace to create a moody vibe to the scene. And finally, I aimed for a very intense and intimidating pose. Using the same pink glow from before and the lume cube setup, I created a dramatic, angry scene that makes Godzilla look like he's ready to kick someone's butt. This might have been my favorite shot of the bunch, but why don't you tell me what your favorite photo is from this little photo shoot here I did? Overall, I am super impressed with this figure. I'm glad Tamashii Nations was finally able to get that CGI data to create such an accurate representation of Godzilla for the SH Monster Arts line. Usually these figures go into production way before the CGI models and data are finalized in the movie, which is why we see a slightly inaccurate design with someone like Shimo or Scar King with their upcoming SH Monster Arts figures. But for Godzilla, the CGI data was finalized very, very early on in the process, allowing Tamashii Nations to get their hands on that data and make this one spot on. The new Godzilla 2024 Evolved version from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is now available for about $139. You can grab it from Entertainment Earth with free shipping using my link below, and you'll get an additional 10% off of any in-stock items through that link too. Using it helps support this channel a lot, and of course you can likely find this figure at any other online retailer that sells action figures that you like to collect. If you've picked up this figure, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you don't have it yet, are you planning on picking it up? Let's talk all about it in the comments. If you've enjoyed this figure review, please give the video a like and share it with your friends or anyone who might be interested in this figure. Subscribe if you want to see more. I've got a ton of content on the way. My next video review will likely be the Super 7 Godzilla 2023, which is also known as -1, the charging version Ultimates with the new glow-in-the-dark spines that are also ejected out of his back like right before he blows his atomic breath in the movie. I am super excited for that one, and it'll be my first Godzilla Ultimates figure from Super 7. So if you want to catch that as soon as it drops, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching Mike's Monsters. I truly appreciate having you here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.